Hey everyone, welcome to the daily puzzle. Today we're going to do a special daily puzzle. We will be solving both 4-3, both April 3rd and April 4th on the same day. Missed yesterday, had some computer problems, actually. Had to go visit the geniuses to get it fixed, if you know what I'm talking about. But go ahead and go solve 4-3 and 4-4, and let's jump right in. I'm going to solve them one at a time. Here we go. Okay, so here we have 4-3, April 3rd. This was yesterday's. Okay, the title of it is a little bit revealing, I guess, taking and defending. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that we might be taking a piece and then defending. And the first thing that comes to mind, of course, is capturing the bishop on g2. This is one of those positions where you can immediately neglect or dismiss anything as far as something happening on the king side, and so you sort of lower your expectations. You're not going to be delivering the goods in this puzzle. Not checkmate, anyway. But I think just taking on g2, and after rook to f1 check, bishop c1, they have bishop to g5. That's the key, but then you have knight to e2. It looks to me like everything's guarded. So I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it without hesitation, Holmes. Put that knight on e2. And now I'm still having to defend, but it looks like the answer is pretty obviously going to be rook to g1, as it's the only move that deals with the pin on c1 as well as the overloaded defenders. It's not a bad combination for black, but unfortunately not enough. What I mean by it's not a bad combination, in a position like this you can almost anticipate, I could be wrong, but you can anticipate that one of the last moves for black was maybe either taking a pawn on g2 and trying to bait this rook into capturing it, perhaps calculating this line with rook f1 check, bishop c1, bishop g5, knight e2, knight d4, but missing rook to g1 at the end of that idea. Or maybe the last move was a move like rook f8, like black took a pawn, white attacked the bishop, and then black played rook f8, trying to say, hey, you can't take my bishop, but again, you can. I'm probably right that one of those two moves would have been the last move in the game, and it would make sense that you could miss an idea like rook g1 at the end of those lines. And the reason why I'm talking about this and not just moving on to the next puzzle is because I think what we can learn from this particular one is the difference between visualization and calculation. A lot of you were probably able to solve this by basically just taking the bishop and then seeing that you could block the checkmate. But if you were surprised by knight to d4 and didn't already see that you had a way out with rook to g1, that can be a sign of visualization issues, not necessarily calculation issues. Calculation is, your ability to focus and to consider candidate moves and keep lines clear in your head is good, but being able to see this position here like it's right in front of you, because when it's right in front of you, you can see rook to g1, but being able to see ahead of time that there was a significant change in the position, this knight moving from c3 to e2 not only guards c1, which was the obvious reason we moved it, but also g1. So seeing those things in your head in advance, and it's a board awareness and aware of the details that have changed, really prevent blunders. And it's, I think Alex Lenderman had a really great video series on, I think he called it quiescence errors. I don't even know how to pronounce that word. Alex is smarter than me. But I definitely recommend the video series. But he talks about a quiescence error is it's the end of a calculation, the end of a line error. So you calculate moves, and at the end of the line, you missed either something for your opponent or for yourself. Or like, for example, when black played the move, if we go back to the beginning, when black played the move rook f8 in this position, saying that was the last move, he made a quiescence error of not seeing that at the end of that position, at the end of knight to d4, white would have rook to g1. So that's a quiescence error, is missing a move at the end of a combination that would otherwise be successful because of a detail in the position that changed during that combination. And in this case, it's key. So how do you improve that? Well, Alex Lenderman has some good ideas in the series. You can check out my video series. You have to have tactical pattern recognition, so you should be solving puzzles and making sure that you're aware of different themes. But a lot of that is visualization. It's the ability to see the board in your head as if it was right in front of you, which is a different thing. It's a different level of focus, and that's something you can work on and improve that skill. So anyway, hope you enjoyed that one. Let's move on to the next one. The next one, which is 4-4. As far as the combination, this is the first time we've ever done two daily puzzles in a row. It's like I don't know what to say. We're just, we're really, right now we're double dipping the chip. You double dipped the chip today. So good for you. And you got away with it. Normally a huge party foul, but we're double dipping. All right, so I'm white here. Different position in nature from the last one. Immediately we do the math, and we are down a rook and a piece. However, it's a position where black's king is under fire. Anderson Kisiritsky. That's a familiar game, right? That's not the evergreen game. This mating net seems very familiar to me already. I don't see the move right away here, but the combination itself, as far as having the e-file, the weaknesses on the dark squares here, is very familiar. Familiar indeed. Familiar faces. So how do we start solving a position like this? There's a number of candidate moves here. I mean, you start looking at all the checks, right? Let's move through the hierarchy of how we should approach weaknesses in our opponent's position. A time bomb, something that's about to blow up, right? We have to make sure we follow the right procedure to consider it. Black clearly has a horrible communication between his pieces, the lack of development. So the fact that white's down a rook and a piece right now is really not felt when you consider that white is actually up a rook and a piece as far as the actual active pieces, right? So bishop b6 check is a move, but after a takes b6, the reason why you dismiss that check is because it doesn't do enough to change the position, to improve the position, to offer new options. So that's out of the window. Bishop e7 check, knight takes. I kind of feel the same way. No immediate follow-up, and giving up the dark square bishop feels wrong. No other queen checks. I mean, I would consider a move just like queen to e3 to threaten mate, but after bishop takes d5, queen e8 check, king to c7, I don't see the follow-up. So the other check is something like rook e8 check. We force the king to e8, and then we check along the open file. And after he moves, then we give another check. Maybe? Hold a tick. Okay, so if rook e8 check, king takes e8, queen e3 check, king to d8, bishop e7 check, and that's why the key would be the queen's on e3, because I think if the king moves to c8, we have queen c5 check? No, he can block with the knight. Okay, so rook e8 check is an interesting move. I don't see a concrete reason why it's the winning mating idea, at least not immediately here. But it feels close, right? Rook e8 check. Some of you maybe are aware of this position. Maybe it's one of those great games, and I should just know the answer to this position. But it's, rings a lot of bells, especially for the Romantic era, right? You have Anderson and Morphy checkmating everybody and their cousin. But this particular position I have never seen before. So, Okay, rook e8, king takes e8, queen e3 check, king to d8. I mean, there's knight to c7 check after king takes e8, but after king to d8, queen takes b7. I mean, it feels like not enough concrete threats to say that we improved enough about our position. Okay, what am I not considering here? Let's open up our brain. We've considered all the forcing checks, and maybe we'll come back to rook e8 and see there was a follow-up move that I missed, but right now I don't see anything concrete with bishop b6 check, bishop e7 check, or rook e8 check, so I begin to look for something else. f6 is a move, just pushing the pawn to f6, and certainly in a real game, I mean, the position still looks like a total mess. But even just bishop takes d5, queen takes d5, knight to c6, I don't see a follow-up there with the bishop and the pawn. So if you guys are actually solving this with me, I'm going to be quiet here and see if I can focus on it. What would be the move here? I don't want to let you guys down, Do not want to let you guys down. What do we have here? If you're gonna let me down easy. If you're gonna let me down, let me know right now. If you're gonna let me down, Let me down easy. If you're gonna let me down, let me know. Let me know right now. Sometimes I sing when I'm solving because it helps me focus, so sorry about that. Struggling with this one. Bishop b7 check, knight takes e7. Let's go back to rook e8 check. Rook e8 check, king takes e8. Queen e3 check, king to d8. I don't know. Oh, then bishop to b6. Check. If king to c8, queen e8 mate. If pawn takes, queen takes. No. Check. E8, king takes. Queen e3 check. King b8, d8. Bishop b6 check. Pawn takes, queen takes. He obviously moves king back to e8. It's crazy I don't see the win there. I really don't want to get this one wrong. It's the only good thing about daily puzzles is they're different than tactics training. There's no timing, so I might as well use my time, right? Ugh. Let's do it. Come on, Danny. If you're gonna let me down easy. If you're gonna let me down, let me know right now. If you're gonna let me down. What candidate moves am I just not considering here? I don't know. I mean, queen f4 threatens queen to c7 check, but he can just take d5. Queen e3. Bishop takes d5 again. Wait. Queen e3, bishop takes d5. If queen e8 check, king c7, I see nothing. But there is bishop to b6 check first. It just feels like so close, right? Queen e3, bishop takes d5, bishop to b6 check. A takes b6. Queen takes b6. King c8, rook e8 mate. So queen e3, bishop takes d5. Bishop b6 check, king to c8 immediately. If queen e8 check, king b7, I have nothing. If queen c5 check, he can develop with like the knight to b6. Knight to c6, excuse me. Rook e8 check, king to b7, and again I have nothing. Starting to think there's something subtle though, like the bishop coming to d6, you know, like queen to e3, bishop takes d5, and then bishop to d6, or even bishop to d6 immediately here. Bishop to d6 threatens bishop c7 check, and then rook e8 mate. That's a fact. But bishop to d6, he plays bishop takes d5. Bishop d6, bishop takes d5. I don't see anything good. I feel like I've spent an impractical amount of time, but in a position like this, even if it was a real game, you would be willing to spend an impractical amount of time to make sure you find something concrete because, hey, you're already down a rook and a piece, so if you don't find something concrete, you might as well give it up. What is it? What is it? Come on. Open up the brain. Queen to e4. Does it change anything about the position after bishop takes d5? I don't see anything new that the queen has along the fourth rank. Some other kind of trick. Trapping the queen is impractical to consider because the queen has too many squares. A2, it's just too long. Why am I... F6, bishop takes d5. As I said, I mean, there's just no follow-up. Rook e8 check, king takes e8. This seems like the most forceful thing to do. Rook e8 check, king takes e8, queen e3 check, King to d8. That's all forced. So I want to stay with that line. Bishop e7 check. Am I just missing something about that being good? Knight takes e7, queen takes e7, king to c8, and then what? Queen c5 check, he blocks, and I got nothing. Rook e8 check, king takes e8, queen e3 check, king to d8, queen g5 check, he plays pawn to f6. I mean, there's a million moves there that look like they could be good, like queen g7, but he takes d5, and again, we're just down so much material. Rook e8 check, king takes e8, queen e3 check, king to d8, bishop b6 check, a takes b6, queen takes b6, king to e8. Es no muy bueno. Knight c7 check, king e7. Wow, I really don't know. So I feel like in a practical sense I have to find something I would actually play in the game. That's what you have to do at a certain point if you can't solve something. Play what you would actually play in the game and learn your lesson if there was something concrete that you missed. Or, be true to who you are as a chess player at that time. We all have our own level of understanding, so you have to stay true to that and play what you would actually think is the best if you can't solve it. Don't be silly or stupid. Okay, bishop d6 looks like a cool waiting move. I mean, it's like a powerful move to put the bishop on d6, and if he takes d5, I can just take with the queen. And he actually doesn't have anything like immediate there. The bishop on d6 also guards b4, right? So there's no Chekhovskis. Bishop d6, bishop takes d5, queen takes d5. What are we threatening? Nothing, which is part of the problem. He plays knight to c6, and then we play like queen takes f7. Excuse me. Although we are threatening rook e8 mate there. He plays king c8, we play rook e8 check. He can block with the knight. Don't see a follow-up, though. What would I actually play in a game? I feel like everybody must be just laughing at me. There must be something really obvious about this. And if you guys actually, solved it along with me and you solved it faster than I did, kudos. I don't know. Queen e3 takes, queen e8 check, king to c7. Yuck. Yuck, yuck, yuck. Yuck, 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 yuck. Is that like a Three Stooges thing or like Popeye? One of those. Rook e8 check, king takes, knight c7 check, king d8, queen takes b7. Is there something good about that? That I just don't... I mean, he doesn't have any checks, so he plays like knight f6. I can just take on a8, right? Keep the party going. Just seems so unlikely that there won't be something for black to get out. That would be a very difficult thing to play in a game, honestly. I don't know. I can't solve it. I can't see it. Frustration sets in. Right? Panic sets in. Oops, you're caught in a bear trap. Running from your life from Shia LaBeouf. From Shia LaBeouf. It's one of the funniest random bits of crazy, insane comedy I've ever seen is that Shia LaBeouf video. I'm not sure I've ever struggled with a daily puzzle as this much. Could that possibly be it? It seems unlikely. I just calculated this line with rook e8 check, king takes e8, queen e3 check, king to d8, bishop b6 check, pawn takes, queen takes. Seems like the most forcing line, right? We've been down this road before. King c8 is mate, but on king to e8, the move I never really considered because it was too slow is just queen takes b7. And the point is I'm just threatening queen to c8 mate. And if he moves the knight up, like, I can still take on a8. And if knight to d8, then what? Yeah, that can't be it. Knight c7 check. King up. Queen e4 check. Even king f8, queen check, king up. It's just insane, the line that we're getting into there. I'm not moving because I don't see the answer, all right? And if you're struggling with the daily puzzle, if it's too long, then, I don't know what to say to yourself. Go do something else with your Saturday. But this is what you want. You guys want real action by strong players struggling and hopefully learning from their struggle and how they're approaching the position. So that's what I'm trying to do for you, all right? Oh, my gosh. Queen e4, bishop takes d5, queen e8 check, king c7, nothing. Am I just losing here? I mean, rook e8 check, king takes, queen e3 check, king to d8. Let's go back to bishop e7 check, king to c8. We've looked at this, right? Oh, and then there's this crazy move, bishop a3, which threatens the queen and mate. I mean, that might be the best chance I have at this point, given what I've calculated. Rook e8 check, king takes e8, queen e3 check, king to d8, bishop e7 check. I mean, there's also bishop to d4 there, right? And then if he moves the queen, you play... Maybe that's it. Rook e8 check, king takes e8, queen e3 check, king to d8, bishop to d4. If he takes d5, you take the queen, and he's also undeveloped, and that rook is maybe hanging. I mean, that's a lot of material they have for the queen, but probably good for you. So if queen e3 check, king d8, bishop d4, he moves the queen to a3, which guards the dark squares, would make relative sense. In fact, it's the only move. Otherwise, we would have bishop f6 check, maybe. It's just so close to mate. Like, bishop f6, queen to g5. He plays f6. Rook e8 check, king takes e8, queen e3 check, king to d8, bishop e7 check, king to c8. We looked at queen to c5 check there, did we not? Bishop f6 does not work because he can take with the knight and the rook guards e8. No longer is there a mate. Unless there's bishop f6, knight takes, knight e7 check, king to c7. Queen to c5 check. He blocks. There's knight to d5 check. There's just not enough. If queen e3 check, king back to d8 in that line, bishop e7 check, king to c8, bishop back to a3. The point is I have this discovery on the e-file where I'm threatening mate on e8 and the queen. And if he takes on d5, I'm like giving check and he moves, and then I'm going to take the queen, and I guess I've got definitely some compensation there. Rook e8 check, king takes, queen e3 check, king over, bishop e7 check, king e8, bishop a3. There's nowhere else for him to move with check. And if he moves the queen somewhere else, I'm mating him. That's probably what I would do in a game, so I'm going to go for it. Yeah, I got it wrong. Darn it. That's what I would do. That's what I would have done in a game. Rook e8 check, king takes e8, queen e3 check, king over, bishop e7 check. Wait, but he can even just take with the knight. Knight takes, king c8. Yeah, and I looked at that before, and the rook is... I got frustrated. I mean, and that's what happens. It's not a QS there. That's just like that's a calculation, and that's just like not considering all your opponent's options. So what is going on with this puzzle? It's got to be more simple than I made it out to be, or I was just on the wrong path. Let's see the solution for the first time ever. What is it? It's bishop to b6 check. A takes b6. Queen to e3, they're saying? How is that so simple? My God, that's so simple. Bishop e6 check, he takes. I considered this idea, but I always considered queen to e3 first, and after takes d5. But giving check first and then queen e3 just threatens, it's just a double attack of mate. I mean, the queen's just threatening mate here and mate here. Wow, I don't know what to say. I failed you guys. I let you down. And I didn't let you down easy, like the song I was singing. Frustration. Sorry about that. God, that's embarrassing. That's embarrassing. Bishop e6, A takes, and queen e3. It makes sense that it had to be easier than I was making it. It's just like, it was insane. And that's such an obvious idea. You're just creating a second avenue in. And remember what I said about bishop e6 in the beginning? I dismissed it because I said it didn't create any more avenues. So it's a check you're going to miss, and that you should dismiss things that don't create any more avenues. But by the time I was so frustrated, I should have gone back to looking at it. And that's just a psychological blunder, I mean, you have to keep looking at those checks instead of becoming obsessed with just the one way to do it. I don't think I really considered bishop to b6 after the first time I looked at it, which is ridiculous when you were with my thought process and you heard how many times I considered rook e8 check and then queen e3 and then bishop b6, or queen e3 first with bishop takes d5, because queen e8 check wasn't working, and then bishop b6, but the problem is they could play king to c8, which is the problem. But in this line, they can't play king to c8 because you have mate on e8 still, because you still have the knight on the board, instead of the line I was talking about with queen e3 first where they take the knight. So you give up the bishop to have them take, and it does create a new avenue because it forces this pawn to b6, which is a new target. So bishop e6 check and then queen e3, and we have a double attack, and that's all she wrote. I mean, sacrificing the queen is just a computer move, but it's still, black is still getting mated likely within a few moves. So, well, I apologize, everybody. I failed you today. Let you down. So I will lick my wounds and try to get back to solving some of these harder puzzles next week. But what can I learn? Why didn't I think I just dismissed bishop b6 and I just never went back to it, which is just a mistake. And I considered that idea so many times in other avenues, in other move orders. So okay. You live and you learn, I guess, and everybody else, please have a pleasant weekend, a pleasant Easter Sunday, Easter weekend, if you're into that kind of thing. Passover for those who are, or just a holiday weekend for those who just are getting some time off work. Peace to all of you.